Dr. Brink, how are you?
I'm good.
I've been here for like an hour and a half.
I know.
God, this, what are we drinking? This Seven Devils?
Seven Devils.
Seven, God. I know a guy back, buddy of mine whose last name was Koenig. He was the original, one of the original, like, next door warriors that I found. Like, he was a friend of mine. It was back, 2019.
Yeah.
He's one of the first people I knew that intentionally manipulated community sentiment by having a bunch of burner accounts on Nextdoor.
That's the best. Because those people just want to go in there and just complain about everything.
And he would literally, like, he had these accounts that were like, you'd find out after, and he was active on all of them.
Yeah.
So, like, he was an active participant for all different sides. He would have arguments with himself.
That's awesome.
And he would say, just have these like ridiculous positions, but he would cultivate these accounts. And then, not that either of us are doing this, but he'd cultivate these accounts because there was like so much turmoil in the community, and so much of it was happening on social media, specifically Nextdoor, hyper localized, that he's like, dude, I got to have a voice in there.
And throw it out there in numerous ways.
Yeah. He's a good guy. So here's to you, Chris Koenig. Anyway. So listen, you were the chiropractor over and sports physician, sports health guy. I don't know. What do I call you? Sports health guy? Whatever. You're fucking.
Yeah, whatever.
I shouldn't swear. This is hitting me a lot harder than I was anticipating.
I'm the chiropractor, non-chiropractor.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. And again, premier spine and sport, right?
Yeah.
Man, hilarious. So, you know my wife, and she was, I get my back hurt. What was it, like 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I couldn't even walk. So I was actually crawling through my house.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I was lying on my bed. I was like, I can't sit up. And so I literally, my wife was calling me upstairs. I rolled off my bed, hit all fours, and then just crawled through the house because I couldn't get myself erect.
How was your dismount? Was it a 10 or?
Dude, it was, I give myself at least an 8. The Russian judge gave me a 5. But
Nice.
the point is,
Yeah.
I come into you and she was like, dude, Justin said that you're like the weakest strong guy he's ever met. But you had me doing things when I came in for recovery. And again, it's like snap back within a week. I had never done those things. And it's really clear that there's so much built up damage from past athletic experiences and stuff. Is this a large part of the people you see? Just people that have damaged themselves either through repetitive or non-use?
I think most of it's not just repetitive, but like you said, as an athlete in the past, you're doing rowing, right? And then water polo, right, for that matter, or swimming. And then you want to go into jiu-jitsu, right? So you're doing 2 completely different sports,
right.
But your body's going to remember what you do, and then as you jumped into other sports, your body's just trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to be dominant in? So if you're doing jiu-jitsu all the time, you're always in certain positions,
right?
But you go do something else and your body goes, whoa, hold on a second.
Right.
I don't trust you in that movement,
Right.
So do it again and I'm going to screw you up for it,
Right.
And then you're like, yep, back's locked up.
Right.
So,
and that's where you get a lot of that repetitive ligament stress, right? Because your ligaments in whatever position you're in, whatever routine you happen to be doing, they're going to strengthen up into that because they're like, okay, I'm going to harden for this movement over and over and over. And then you switch to something else, even if it's not a great strain, the ligaments are like, hey man,
well, not even ligaments, just tissue.
Just tissue
in general, right?
Gotcha.
Because if you're going to go in there, it could be a muscle, it could be a capsule, it could be tenderness, it could be ligamentous, right? Your body is trying to train to become the most efficient mover for that position, right?
Yeah.
And it's there to protect you, right? So if you're non-efficient, right, it's going to protect you. And if it's trying to protect you, it's going to become as efficient as you can to protect you, right? So it's always like ping-ponging back and forth between either or.
Gotcha.
So
did I tell you when I started, oh my God, this is so bad. So I had a hot minute where I got into distance running.
Yeah.
Like I got, I don't know why. I know why. Somebody gave me that book. You ever read Born to Run?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tremendous book.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it. Whether or not you buy into the, barefoot running and stuff, no problem. But I really enjoyed that book. And I was like, man, I kind of like, this feels right.
Yeah.
It feels right. So I get like a distance running coach and everything. And I get really into distance running. And I sought him out because I told my brother-in-law I'd run a marathon. And like, the pig-headed guy I am, I just started running like 10 miles, 12 miles, 60, no build up, no working into it, no alternative.
That's not you. That's not you at all.
Not me at all. And of course I get to like a 14 or 15 mile run and my foot is shut. Like I can't even walk. Every step is just horrendous pain. Anyway, so I'm like, look, man, maybe you should seek some knowledge. So I get running. Anyway, so I get to the point where I could run. I did the dual peaks over in, Stinson Beach,
okay,
the double dipper, right? So with a friend, just on the fly, it was like 30 miles or something, and running
just
up a mountain, just on the fly, just on a nice Saturday. Anyways, the point is, it's like that was a period of time. I think it was like the late teens when I was into that, and so my birthday this year, late March. I'm like, dude, I've been working crazy in the legislative session. I've totally been neglecting this. Like, I gotta go for a run. Like, I was like, what have you become? Like, you gained like 10 pounds. You're a dump truck. What have you been doing?
I'm going to go run.
Right. I'm going to go run. I have never been in so much pain. I literally, I don't even think I ran 2 miles. My back hurt. My hips hurt. Like I've never had hip pain. And I was like, I'm going to, fight through this. Within 2 weeks, I had tendonitis in my ankles.
It was those 10 pounds.
But I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I couldn't even walk. It was literally like right around that bump on your ankle, just unrelenting pain from just tissue all around that. It was like my foot itself doesn't hurt, but my ankles are shot. Like I didn't twist them. It was just, God, man, it was terrible. It was a bad move.
Yes, it is.
Thanks
and
for
I
the
mean,
support.
and I see that all the time. That's the bad part, right? I think when people think, oh, what's the easiest way I can exercise? I'm gonna go for a run. Right. What'd you do to go train to run? Nothing. But I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna go strap some running shoes on. I'm gonna go hit 1, 2, 3, 10 miles, whatever it is, and they come back and they're like broken. I'm like, what did you think was gonna happen? Go in and just max lift right now, whatever you could do in a squat. Tell me how you feel after the fact.
But isn't like that's like a cultural thing where, like take a lap. Like we inherently were like, oh, we should be able to run, but it is terrible.
It's funny because I might have mentioned this to you in the past, right? Where working with fighters in the past and working with, guys like yourself doing jiu-jitsu and stuff. When I've gone into gyms, what I see a lot is the very first thing that people do to warm up is what? Go run around the gym.
Yeah.
But what did you do to prime your system to go run around the gym on a soft mat? Right? So do runners then do jiu-jitsu to warm up to do running? Right? The answer is no. We know that, right? But so then why do other sports do running to warm themselves up when you need a big toe to move and you need an ankle to move and a knee to move and a hip to move and a back and everything else? I don't understand like why we're just go run, warm yourself up. But I did nothing to prime run, right? Now I just, increase my risk for injury because my body's going, all right, it's fight or flight. I'm going to go do this because coach says I have to or whomever says I have to. Right. And then I come back and I'm like, God, my ankle is broken right now. But I still have to go warm up.
Yeah. The running on the mats is weird too, because it's a moving target.
Yes.
Right. Like you expect, and again, even I've never been hurt from running around on mats, but I've always been really weird about it. Cause I'm like, hey man, this is a moving floor.
Yes.
Like, so when I compress down onto something and it gives way a certain amount, it's like running on the beach, right? You run on the beach, you're like all of a sudden flopping all over the place.
Yes.
But that was always the same thing on the mats. And I had to be really cognizant of it when I was warming up with that. I'm a bigger fan of like squats and jumping jacks,
Well, there is, but I think there's also a place to say, all right, what is our goal today? What are we going to work on today? Are we working on arm bars? Are we working on, leg locks, right? Are we working on triangles? What is it? So you can become more goal specific as to what you warm up.
Right.
But I think the hard part then is that also comes back to the coaching, right? And a lot of time the coaching just doesn't understand because they're now coaching, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people, right? It's like here, as a general thing, we're just going to get your heart rate going. And if you sweat, you're warmed up.
Right.
Warmed up for what though? Right. So, look at football. The quarterback, the wide receiver, the cornerback, the offensive, defensive lineman, whomever it is, they're all different positions. No different in baseball, right? So do they all have the same warm up or should they all be catered specifically to what we're looking for?
Out of that athletic. Yeah.
Correct.
So the center is going to have a different ask than a wide receiver ultimately in performance.
Right. Because their job in the gym is going to be different. Wide receiver, I don't care how much you squat. I care how fast you get off the line. Yeah. Right. Same thing as the center or an O-line or a D-line, Are you pulling left or pulling right? Which way is your better side? Yeah. Well, then let's start making your hips do what you need to do to go to that direction.
Yeah, man, that's a lot. And, I also, when I was training, oh, watch out. When I was training running, I actually did a lot of running in place,
Yep.
which was like a really odd thing to do, but it was like, get your cadence right, get your knees moving right. And then as you start to run, like run in place for 10 or 15 minutes at a specific cadence. I actually got a metronome. I know, ridiculous, but I was like, this is great. And, you know, stick to the metronome.
Do your 180.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I worked up to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
But it was really easy to do 180 if you're running in place.
Yeah.
It was really hard to do it if you were moving forward. But the idea, they're like, listen, 180, run in place, and then just lean forward a little bit, but keep the 180. Yeah. And that retrained ultimately what it was, which made sense once I started, you know, getting into running was, look, if you're on a bike, right? And I lived near Mount Diablo, right? Yeah. So I'd ride up Mount Diablo on a bike all the time. Like if you're on a bike and you just switch into the biggest ring and you're riding up a mountain, you're going to be taking these gigantic bites, and you're going to hate every second of, like, it's the worst, right? And if you just switch down, you might be going the same speed, but you're taking these manageable chunks, right? These manageable bikes. And it was explained to me, it's like, you're doing the same thing when you're running. Mm-hmm. If you're running at like 160 cadence or like 150 cadence, as I was when I started, like you're taking these big giant ring bites. When you're running, you're going to have way more impact. You're going to be like lopping yourself. You're not actually, you know, moving in a straight line. You're actually moving up and down. Right. Yeah, it was such a wild thing. So you can, it's not that you can't prepare yourself, but you got to like warn your body like, hey man, we're about to go do this thing. Like wake up, right? Wake up because this is about to happen in like 10 minutes. And then your body's like, all right. Like, and by the way, I didn't do any of that.
We got to work out in your neck of the woods as well back in California.
Don't say that word.
I know. Yeah, especially here.
In the state that shall not be named.
It was, I can't think of the guy that I was working with now, just offhand, but he's a big running coach. And we worked with a lot of like the top end, like Spartan racers. Yeah. And we took them, you know, we videotaped them running forward. We videotaped them running from the side, and we videotaped them like running from the backside, right? And then we...
Wasn't Paul Kinney, was it?
No.
Okay.
And I can't think of his name. It's going to drive me crazy. I see his face.
A dude, though.
Yeah, a guy. Yeah, it was a guy. And then we started teaching them, all right, hands on shoulders. We had a massive speaker out there, right? And we would play that metronome at 180, right? And then they all had to march in place, right? And there was probably like 30 of them, right? Yeah. So all these, you know, guys and gals that are out there marching in place with that metronome, you know, and then it's like, okay, lean a bit more forward. And then they started to jog and then started to run. And then by the end of it was a two-day, you know, process. Yeah. We were then videotaping them running uphill, downhill, from the front, from the back at that 180 because we had that speaker playing. And they were just like the control factor running uphill, running downhill. Everything was just so much easier for them, like just less stress on the body,
right?
You know, and that was the other part that, because that leg kick, you know, where everything is just directly underneath your spine, when you start to kick out in front of you, now wherever that foot lands, you have all that space that you have to pull now to stay in line.
Right. You got to pivot over where
right.
you landed.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. My friend who was a cross-country runner in high school. We were both rowers in college, and occasionally they'd make us go run around the track. And I found out after the fact that they'd always make fun of me when I was running because they're like, look at Todd out there. He's just hitting the brakes. He's just a foot out there, heel strike, hitting the brakes. I was like, thanks, Dick. Yeah. Like, why didn't you say something? Yeah. I would have liked to fix it. Yeah, man, that's the running is a really nuanced sport that, you know, I really enjoyed it. I did a half iron triathlon in Auburn. So we had the swim was normal, right? There's no elevation gain in swimming. You're like a salmon.
Yeah. Right.
So like the swim is normal, but the run and the bike was something like 10,000 feet of elevation. Oh, wow. So it was equivalent of doing Mount Diablo 3 times ish. And then the run, you also had something like, it was like 2,000 feet of elevation.
Which is a lot running.
So you had to do 3 laps on a run, and you had to run into a gorge and then come back out. So on the last lap, I was coming out like, dude, you're done. You're at like mile 11, and you know you're looking at 2 miles uphill. That was terrible. Yes. But again, I didn't prepare for that. But in the wake of that, when I got the running coach, he was like, yeah, you got to realize it's outside of the swim. The running is like a very close second with technique and very close with form and very close with all these things. And if you want to do it successfully, again, efficiency and safely. He's like, because you can run fast and you're not going to be efficient. You can run fast. You can be really risky for injury. But if you want to be efficient and safe, you're going to have to take a lot of time and like get your angles right and get that cadence right.
That's why there's no top swimmer that ever won the Ironman.
Of course
At least
not.
to my knowledge.
Of course, they ain't working on the lower half.
Not at all.
They're not working on the lower half.
They smoke everyone in the swim, and then they're like, we're done.
You can take a cyclist and teach him how to run.
Yeah.
You can take a runner and teach him how to cycle. None of them are learning.
No.
Like the swimmers. The swimmers are so bad.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's a good time. We were just talking before we hit the cameras about I was telling you I have this nuclear project that I'm working on. Nuclear education with this guy who's apparently like one of the foremost authorities on nuclear energy in the country or the world. He was telling me we actually did our first episode today, and we were talking about 3 Mile, Fukushima, and Chernobyl. It's wild to hear these conversations. But when Fukushima got hit by the tsunami, Japan called him.
Oh, wow.
Right. So like it's that level of guy, which is really wild.
Who's on the phone? Japan. All right, here we go.
And he said he was on the phone with them for 4 days. He said
Wow.
the number one thing he said the second he heard, he was like, water. They're like, but we're going to pump seawater. He's like, the reactors are gone anyway.
Yeah.
Apparently they had 6 different reactors. 4 of them had been flooded with seawater. They were, man, the amount of nuclear education I have gotten over the last week, like I can't even, like it's mind boggling.
PhD.
No, I mean, no. And what's interesting is this guy, his name's Richard McPherson.
Yeah.
He got into nuclear through the Navy in the 60s. So he's been working on nuclear in nuclear subs and, reactors. We're talking light water reactors, molten salt reactors, small modular reactors, everything for the last 60 years.
Yeah.
And he didn't go through these classic like academic PhD standpoints. He's literally been on the front line of nuclear forever.
Learned it by being on the front line.
Yeah, learned it. And the thing that I find really interesting is that, you have kids that are of, essentially adult age. It's like, all right, man, you're about to launch. And my kids are a little bit younger, but listening to him talk about, we were chatting about nuclear welding programs. Yeah. Because welding, one thing is like, if we were in a commercial welding business, like you could look at something or put a slide up on the screen. It's like, okay, it's like blah, blah. He's like, when you're inspecting nuclear welders, you literally have like a 300 magnification microscope.
Jeez.
Right? It's like, so the capacity and skill set with nuclear welding is substantial, but it's still a trade.
Yeah.
And it's a ungodly demand trade. And I was literally thinking this morning, it's like, man, if this podcast thing goes sideways, I'm going to go into nuclear welding. But like what is the relationship with white collar work and things like what you did? Because I think you and I both grew up with the sentiment that, hey, look, the more educated you get, the better your life is going to be. And a large part of that was a sentiment that the more education you get, the more money you're going to be able to provide. But at this point, you and I both know we call a plumber. Like I had a well company come out just to check my little domestic well. The guy was there for 15 minutes, dropped the little thing down, did some stuff. And he's like, all right, well, it's $150 for the service call. I'm like, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. And I was like, he's going to come back out. He's like, well, it's $400 to do that thing you want plus $115 an hour. So like, we can schedule it if you want. I was like, yeah, man, like I'm not arguing with the guy, but he leaves. I'm like, I'm in the wrong business, son.
Yes.
Plumbers, welders, not nuclear welding, but just welders, like all of this stuff. Like, what are you telling your kids as far as career trajectory?
It's funny because I've one of my good friends still from the state we can't talk about.
Shall not name.
He has a door company, right? And that
sounds glamorous. I have a door company.
He does amazing. Like builds custom doors, right? And that type of stuff. And when they were up here last, he was talking to a couple of, daughter's friends, and they were like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go be an electrician. I think I'm gonna go do this. And he's like, stick to those trades. He goes, those trades will never go away. And he's like, you can go to college, you can do whatever you want, and like his son's actually coming up here to BSU. And, he has him out there in the warehouse. And he's like, yep, Luke does not want to do this work. It's like, you better get yourself a good degree. He goes, if not, you're coming back here and you're going to work for dad, which is great because you see those professions and they're not going to go away, but yet we need them, and we can complain, oh, they're expensive, but at the same time, are they? Right? It's a service that we need. You needed your well fixed for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Our, electricity in the garage went off, and I'm like, I know enough to like shock myself, so I'm like, let me call a guy and be like, all right, you need to come in and try and fix this, and it's like, all right, yeah, $150, 10 minutes. I'm like, God, what am I doing?
You ever have that experience where there's electricians out there and you're like, yeah, there's something wrong with like this plug, right? Yeah. And you turn around and he's got the whole thing out and like all the wires are coming out and they're all spread apart and he's got something, you're like, what the hell is he doing? And then, 10 minutes later, he's like, I got it fixed and everything works. And you're like, I don't know what happened.
I look at it and I'm like envious as to like, how do you understand all those things? Because it doesn't look hard, but yet it's hard.
Right.
Because I'd go in there and I'd electrocute myself in a second.
We die for sure. Yeah, like there's there's only death at the end of that home repair.
100%.
There's the statistic that if you get a degree, you will make $1 million. Okay. The statistic is if you get a degree, you make $1 million over your lifetime more than somebody who doesn't get a degree.
Right.
Okay. That is true. However, that's a correlation. That doesn't mean the degree is the thing that made you the $1 million.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, look, who are the people that went to college?
Yeah.
Probably the people that had the highest degree of focus and highest degree of planning in high school. They were probably the people that had the highest capacity, right? And I'm not saying everybody that doesn't go to college doesn't have capacity. I'm sure a lot of them do. But we could make the argument that on average, the people going to college probably had the highest degree of organization, focus, all of these different things. If no college ever existed, those people would probably still be the higher earners anyway.
Yeah.
And like, do you remember years ago when it was like, the truck drivers better learn to code?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What's AI taking away? The coders.
Yeah.
Right. Now, mind you, the truck drivers are going too.
Yeah.
But my point is, it's like those white collar jobs, like attorneys, medical professionals, all of these sport or physical trainers with, specific sports focused things like this. Those are slowly, and some not so slowly, getting picked off by AI. And it comes back to, it's like, listen, man, can you weld?
Yeah.
Right? Like the answer should be learn to frame.
Yes.
Right? Like how good at framing are you? How good at, there was a guy that I knew years ago. This is hilarious. I have this client. He's got this unbelievable house. It's on the side of a hill, Tuscany style. It's like just making it rain left and right. And they got like a vineyard kind of like leading up. And I'm like, get out of here, man. Like I can't. I think they had a wine cave.
Oh, geez.
Like it's that type of people. You're like, I just hate you. Yeah. Anyway, he was telling me how his uncle makes. I was like, he had like a ridiculously beautiful, and this sounds weird, but like a ridiculously beautiful stove hood. It was like gorgeous, like this custom metal thing. He's like, yeah, my uncle makes them. I'm like, your uncle makes these things? He's like, yeah, he kills it because everybody wants this custom metal work, and who knows how to do custom metal work anymore?
Right. No one.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, are we doing our kids a service by emphasizing almost universal sentiment that more education is better?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I don't. I think the hard part with that is, where do they want to go? Where do they want to do? I know like one of our kids, she wants to go be like an interior designer.
Sure.
Do you have to get a degree for that? Not necessarily. You can get good at what you do, but she's going to get her degree at Boise State, in that.
Great.
Which is awesome. I know, son, I mean, he's amazing in like science and math and that type of stuff. Where he wants to go, that I don't know.
Right.
But he does jiu-jitsu also. He's like, I want to be, I want to go up and do the best that I can with jits, and I'm like, all right, well, where's that going to take you? That only takes you so far, but what do we do after the fact? So that I don't know. I think that's a hard thing right now with this whole AI world, where we're headed. It's like, what jobs are going to be taken away and what jobs are going to be left behind? Can it build the house or can it not?
And your profession in health is not going to be taken away. Right? There's no way that I go to AI and I'm like, hey, I just rolled out of my bed and crawled upstairs. I can't stand up. And they're like, oh, well, this is what you need to do, Matt. Like there's just some of the exercises you were putting me through when you're like, look, put your knee to your chest and like stop me from pulling your knee back. And like, it must have been like half a pound of pressure. Yeah. You were just like with your pinky, you were like, and I was like, oh, screaming, right? There's no AI program that's doing that, at least not in any near future, right? So you're an example of a health profession that required an enormous amount of education and training that is not going to be replaced. But that's not true. I've had many health professionals that are like, look, man, I mean, like I take notes in the meetings, and then, you know, the AI's along with me, and its notes are better than mine.
Yeah.
You know, so it's almost like
I think
we don't know which way to go.
I think you can use the AI in conjunction. Like, I mean, I use it for my notes, right? You know, I'll sit there and I'll write all my stuff out, you know, into our system, and then the system will spit it out in a cohesive, you know, manner, which is fine. I'm good with that, you know, whatever. It's
By the way, this gluten-free beer, Kickstep IPA from Ghostfish, they do not sponsor me. They don't even know I exist. I just want you to know there's an
They
idiot.
will now.
There's an idiot in the Treasure Valley that loves you, Ghostfish. I don't drink gluten, and God bless it, you have the only beer that actually tastes like a beer. Available at all Albertsons.
You should have put it right here and cracked it.
Right here, baby.
Right.
Holler at me, Ghostfish. Dude, if I could get a gluten-free beer sponsor for this podcast, I'd die.
There you go.
That'd be great.
Anyway, Colin.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, so I think our profession won't be taken away because we're hands-on. Can it enhance what we do? I think it can, because as it learns, I think your algorithms based on like how you write or what your thinking methods are and that type of stuff, then it can definitely, I think, help you sort of curtail something more for someone. But I think the hard part with that is it makes us think less, right? Because now we're relying on something else to do the thinking for ourselves.
Sure.
Now we just don't do it anymore, right?
Right.
I think you start to see AI now into surgeries, right? Where now you have these robots that are doing all these surgeries. Well, at what point then is the surgeon now gone? You know, because we don't need the surgeon anymore. Now we have the tech that actually owns, you know, Stryker, you know, for example. Right. So Stryker, you have their people that are in on these surgeries that are now watching these surgeries, you know, doing what? Making sure that the surgeon is using their equipment as perfect as possible, right? And if something goes wrong, hey, they're there to fix it. Well, then at what phase? It's like, well, surgeon is now gone, Stryker employee is there, and AI bot is there doing the surgery, and he's just making sure that everything is good on, you know, on the AI bot. So I think that's the personal training, you know, can you do it? But if you don't understand, you know, what the exercises are, you're just looking at words.
Plus,
you know?
like, at what point, there was a film I watched a couple years back, and I don't think it was a great film, but the main character, it was a drama, right? And the main character had lost, you come to find out that the main character had lost a partner. I think he was in law enforcement to some horrible thing. And somebody kept calling him, right? Like you track this experience where somebody's calling him and it's like, hey man, like we really got to connect. Like this isn't going to work if you don't work with me. Yep. And you think it's like an internal affairs person or a therapist trying to work him through. What you find out at the end of the movie, and this guy's really distraught over this, and you can see suffering and stuff. What you find out at the end of the movie is that that's an AI version of his dead partner. And the powers that be are like, hey, let's get this program so he can connect with his partner in this very effective AI version of the partner to like get past this thing. And I think, and it obviously didn't work, and it was kind of a commentary on, it's like, human beings will always want to have human beings. Yeah. Right. And I think from a personal training standpoint and from a struggle standpoint, like we will always want, have you ever had a coach that was like really out of shape?
Yes.
You know, and not out of shape, like, you're 300 pounds, but like rock solid. You're carrying an extra couple, but like you could power lift, right? But like out of shape. Yeah. My wife has had a couple of those. She's like, I hate that dude.
Yeah.
Whatever. But you have, I mean, I think to follow somebody into a lot of pain and suffering, you need to believe that they know what the pain and suffering is.
Right.
Right. Like I will dance with somebody who will be in the arena with me.
Sure.
Right? Like I'm good with that. And in the absence of that, it's like, you don't even know what I'm going through, right? Like in rowing, obviously you have a coxswain leading the boat. And it's like, you have no idea the hell I'm going through. And some of them have the guts to actually get on the rowing machine and go into the dark with you, right? And that's a beautiful thing. And then some of them, you understand that they don't know, but they respect it and they don't abuse it, right? But some coxswains in rowing just treat you like you're a horse and they're the jockey. It's like, I hate you. I hate you.
Just
man.
keep rowing. Keep rowing.
But I feel like that's a reality to some aspects of profession, that we will always want human beings. Like I don't think therapy is ever going to be replaced by AI, right? I don't think personal training or somebody being like, listen, you will not get better if you don't do this. Like, hang with me. Or like, I know this hurts. Hang on there for a second. Like, you know, even working with you, it's like, I was in a lot of pain, but I was like, all right, I believe he knows the pain I'm in.
Right.
So like, I'm going to trust him through this process.
I think, like, I just got this question asked to me yesterday, because I do a lot of like wellness coaching, you know, from just all over the place.
Sure.
And they were saying, which is better, hands-on or like the coaching part? And they said, I like the hands-on. The hands-on because I can put my hands on you. Right? I can actually feel, I can touch, I can manipulate, I can move, you know, things around. Where when you're on that computer screen, like, then I have to verbalize it, right? And I have to be able to watch like how someone moves based around like how I, you know, educate them on how to move, you know, and so they can then understand it. So then I can see where that discrepancy in their movement might be. And if I can't explain it well to them, then it's just all a big old cluster. It just doesn't work how it's supposed to, right? And so, and that's, I think, where AI can get as well, because AI is going to spit out some degree of verbiage. And if you're sitting there looking at this going, I don't know what this is, then you're still lost. Right. Where, hey, if I'm here, now I can put my finger on you and be like, I want you to move this segment, or here, do you feel this? You know, can you do this, you know, style of movement, you know, whatever it is. And then you're like, oh, I can start to see that. So I think in our profession, like, that type of stuff won't go away.
Right.
Will it be subsidized? Sure. You know, definitely. And I think you'll see companies that'll pop up that'll be like, hey, we are completely virtual, you know, or we are completely AI, you know, and then someone can build some algorithms, you know, for people, and that's what they do. And if it covers 70% of those people, then hey, 70% is perfect. But it's the other 30% that I always worry about, the ones that need that specificity, you know, and that specificity, you know, is what I think that I'm good at, you know, here, because I can now pinpoint exactly, I think, what you need, and then we build upon what you need, and then we get you better, and then you're good to go.
Right.
So, versus, well, I keep running into the same problem over and over, and I throw my back out 2 to 4 times a year. I'm like, why? Why are you already okay with throwing your back out 2 to 4 times a year? AI is not going to fix you. Right? You know, what are we doing? I'm not going to fix you, but if I can give you better guidance, because I can now watch how your body is moving, because AI is not doing that for you right now, right? I mean, there's a lot of programs that can watch what you do and how you move, but they're still not spitting out what to do to correct it, right? That's what I see.
Yeah, this is a problem.
You're right.
Right? Like, it's really complex. How do we engage human beings?
Yeah.
Again, like, and I know that sounds like a weird thing, but I really think that's what there's this big conversation in education, almost identical, right? And my version of educating young people was much more like a sports coach, where, you know, you could go onto a soccer. I'd never played soccer, right? But a lot of people play soccer, and they have soccer coaches or water polo coaches or wrestling. Like, wrestling was one in I had this coach, Paul Brown, who was incredible. He would have been on the 80 Olympic team. Absolute monster. And I can tell you right now, sure as I sit here, I met him when I was 14 years old, and I only joined the wrestling team because my sister's friend was like next door neighbors with him. We started with 30 kids and we ended with 9 in 3 months. And it was the most brutal experience of my life, but I was 14, and that changed my perspective on what, you know, physically you could do with your body, who I was, right? And I know it's like, sounds grandiose, but like, I think eventually most successful people go through that transition at some point, where even if they're like, look, I don't know what I'm capable of, but I realize now that that's a question mark. I'm capable of a lot more than I thought. And that was my experience with Paul Brown. And there was an aspect of just straight up get back up. Like, I'm here, but you need to get back up. And believing that that person was there to help you to get back up. And then doing it, being like, oh my God, I got back up. He's like, I know, keep going. You do not see that in academics.
No.
And my version of teaching was like, I don't understand this math problem. Do it again. No. I just told you I got it wrong. I'm like, I know. Read it again. Find your mistake. And the students I worked with had this experience of like, okay, Matt's here if I really need him, but he doesn't think I actually need him yet.
Right.
I'm gonna try to fix this myself. And students respond to that instantaneously. They're like, yeah, Like, hell yeah, do it again. And I had this is really funny. So I had this 500 square foot little classroom, right? U-shaped table. So I was on a chair on wheels, and I'd just go around the table. On the inside of the U, the students were on the outside. Worked really well because I would literally just go from student to student, like rolling through. I knew every problem. If somebody was advanced, I'm like, hey, you start on number 30 and just go all the way up. And I was like, you start on number 1. It didn't matter what problem they were on. I was helping them all the way through, right? And for kids that wanted extra, and by the way, who wants extra SAT tutoring? They would come in, they would take extra seats. I even had I had a hall that led up to it that had tables lined up. And I was like, hey, if you want to come in and just work on whatever, do extra problems or work on home, you can do, study hall. It was like, because you're out in the hall. I was like, come get a snack, grab a Coke, whatever you want, like get after it. But that's what I think produces really good humans. Having that person that believes in you as you're going through something difficult. And in the absence of that, I don't think we'll be able to replace that with AI stuff.
I think you being a teacher, and I taught high school for 4 years, and I think the same thing now, just with education.
What'd you teach?
Biology, chemistry, physical science.
God bless you. So, how was it?
And I taught algebra over the summer.
Oh my God. I didn't know you were teaching. Yeah. How was that?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Yeah. It was good. I just saw that the state we can't mention, the education system was just headed downhill. And after 4 years, I had to figure out, all right, do I stay on my emergency credential, or do I go back and get my credential, or do I go do something different? Right. And at that point, I'd been out of school for 6 years. And I'm like, I knew I wanted something in the healthcare system. So that's when I, decided to go into chiropractic school.
What did you study in college?
Biology.
Oh, gotcha. So you just merged right into it.
So I was, I was going to go to dental school. So that's where I started, was in dental school.
Everybody likes a good smell.
Right. And again, Dad was a dentist, so I figured, I'll take over his practice. But that meant I had to move back to Merced, in Central Valley. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to dig in people's mouths anymore, So I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, so, drill, fill, and bill.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, you taught, and then you decide to go back to that.
Yeah, so I think as we teach and we can communicate, having that good teacher that someone can actually relate to and make them think. Because that was the one thing I did notice when I was teaching algebra, is they always wanted to pull out their calculator. And I would never let them use a calculator on their test. You can use it all you want in your homework, but guess what? You don't get it on your test. You get to use this brain up here and actually think through your problem, because that's what real life is. You have to think through problems all the time. And if we're never willing to think through a problem, we just expect the answer to be given to us, then we're never progressing. Right? And then we wonder where failure comes from. And then all of a sudden, when we fail, we're like, well, what the hell just happened? I failed. I don't understand what failure is. Like, well, we never had to think through the problem actually to get to the point of failure, and then learn from your failure and create a success, based around that failure. And I would see that with kids, quite a bit, just not willing to go that extra mile of learning because they're afraid of that failure part. And I'm like, who cares if you get the F? Because guess what? The next time you can get the C or the B or the A, right? As long as you're progressing, moving forward, these are just tests. That's how standardized tests. This isn't real world. Right? And the moment you go into the real world, do you understand how to put that into a working order and be like, holy crap, I did fail. And now I am succeeding because I'm able to learn what I learned, back in the day, because this teacher cared enough to, not that I failed him, but I'm like, I made you think, and I wasn't going to give you an answer.
Right. Do you think first off, congratulations on winning the championship game at Rigby, the Rigby tournament. 2 years in a row.
We won, but lost. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Won but lost.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and call you the championship game winners.
Right.
But coming off of that, I've been so head over heels with jiu-jitsu for, over a decade and a half that, coming back, and I, again, very fortunately got to play, applying what I know about improvement now to that realm. Yeah. I'm like, oh, like when I was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, this is really funny. When people would be, in jiu-jitsu, a lot of people show up for a lot of different reasons. Sure. They want community, they want mastery, they want exercise. They just, want to see their friends, like the whole thing, right? And for me, when I was a lower belt in like my late 20s, I was like, dude, I want to smash. Like, I want to go.
Testosterone. You just wanted to crush.
Just go. And so when people would stop and start talking, either, in between moves or they're debating things, I'd pick up one of the wrestling dummies and I'd run in circles with it on my back. Just and like make fun of me the whole time. But I was like, I am like, you guys will talk for 10 minutes. I'm not losing 10 minutes.
Sure.
Like I'm going to inch. And I don't have a lot of skill sets, but one is knowing how to get better, knowing how to be bad at something and holding that and being like, okay, you are bad at this. It's unequivocal. Like, here we go. You're terrible, but you can get a little bit better. And not like you're going to be good, but you're going to get better. And that's one skill set that I actually have that is, I mean, this podcast is a perfect example. I don't have a background in audio video. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but like, here we are years and years later, and, things are happening. But the point is that applying that to, again, I got to play in water polo tournament on the B team, not the A team with you guys. And then just looking like, okay, I want to get better. Right. And I know how to get better at things. I don't know all of the things I need to know that will make me better. I'm sure I will learn them in, months and as I go, but I know how to get better. And I only know how to get better because I've allowed myself to be bad. Right? If I didn't know how to get better and I didn't trust that I could get better, when the call comes in, it's like, do you want to play on the B team? We didn't actually got to be like, no, I haven't played 26 years. I ain't getting into that pool. Not even a pool, into a lake.
Lake.
But it's that thing that it's almost like, to your point of, I don't care that you got an F. Right. I care that next time you get a C and then you get a B. I switched from a math major at Cal to a rhetoric major because one, I was falling out of love with math, and there's a large part of me that wishes I hadn't, because it's kind of like playing piano. It's like everybody takes piano lessons when you're a kid, and then when you're like 20 and somebody sits down, they're like, and you're
I played for years, and then I hated every aspect. Now I'm like, I wish I could just sit down and just play. I'm like, damn it.
That's me with piano and math, because I did both, right? Anyway, but my greatest success with writing was I got a B- in this remedial writing class, but I went from being like an F level writer to a B-. And it was like, success. Oh my God, I got better. Like, I'm starting to figure this out. And that led into me going into my rhetoric, which again, I very much appreciate it, because it taught me how to communicate and think, and not what to think, but how to think, which was profound. But like, I think that's what we need more. Right? Like, I think that's what there's this huge push, as I'm sure you know, it's like, look at China. They got these kids with like monitoring all of these things, and they're like getting all these right answers. It's like, how about the kids that can get the wrong answer every day and keep coming forward?
Yeah, there was a year ago, a couple years back, I don't remember where I read it from, but there was a letter that a teacher had written to all the parents of like his classes. And it was like, I don't expect every single one of your kids to get straight A's, right? But what I want is, I want your kid to try, right? Not every kid is going to be a PE major, a math major, an English major, a history major, a science major, but yet we're expecting them to be all of those through high school by getting all the straight A's. Like, what did they learn from each one of these? And then where were those failures from? And then where were their successes in order to be able to do that? So don't get on your kid if they got a B in a class and they got all their straight A's. Maybe they're not going to be that math major, and that's okay. I mean, I hated math. I hated science, right? But yet that's what my degree was in, and that's what I taught in high school, right? I'm like, I wanted to go do something different, and I just hated those because they were my hardest subjects. But yet that's what my degree and everything, that's where everything is now gone, it was just a funny way of like, all right, I'll teach algebra. Oh, do I know how to do it? Sure. But I hated it in high school,
You did you play water polo in college?
So yeah, I played in college, and then short stint.
Short stint.
Yeah.
It was not, you were not in it for the 4 years.
No, coach and I did not get along, and realized that at that point it was a business, and then that's when from Santa Barbara moved to Sacramento, and then started the club team up in Sacramento, and we played. So now we got to play with no jerk coaches or anything like that, that
you just got to play the game.
Yeah. Just got to play the game.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because I had so much, and again, I'm obviously not as competent as you and other people, but it was like the burden of D1 athletics was such that I really wasn't like strong enough at 19 or 20 to juggle all of that. Crazy. And I certainly wasn't like, I took a lot of the top classes in my high school, but it's like, man, it's not like I did. It's not like I had a 4.2.
Yeah, right.
Right. And I was captain of the swim team and water polo team, and wrestling team. And I was, first trumpet at the jazz band. Like, I did a lot of things at a high for high school. Like, I'm not bragging or anything, but like, how did you become the person that could do sports and engage in a really intense science?
I think me having to pay for college myself did that. Right. So
you took it really seriously.
I had to, right? Because I was one that was paying for it. I'm like, oh, I can either waste my own money or I can take these classes and figure it out. Right. In high school, like I could care less about school. It was like, all I want to do is just get by so I can play my sports, and for me, it was water polo, soccer, baseball. Once
You're pretty big for a soccer player, bro.
Were
you a goalie?
I was not this size in high school. It's like, I think I graduated like 5'10", like $165,
When you were 22?
No, when in high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then
I was going to say, you're like 6'3",
Yeah.
240?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the biggest soccer player I've ever seen.
No, and then once like that summer, I like just shot up,
Gotcha.
and so
Gotcha.
coach was like, "Who in the heck is this dude?"
right.
This is not who we had seen play a year ago.
Now, if only you could see you with your fake tan and
I know.
everything.
But yeah, I think going through school, in high school, it's like I didn't care about school,
Yeah.
and it was a means of getting somewhere. And then once I got into school and like, okay, figuring out, oh, it's a business, and the coaches didn't care about who you are, who you were, anything about you. And
it's the process of administering athletics.
Yeah.
It's not the athletics.
No.
It's the assistant athletic directors. It's the, supporting people. It's the coaches. The Riley Gaines issue.
Yeah.
Which has been reversed now.
Yeah.
Conclusively.
Yeah.
I remember chatting with somebody on the show about it, and it was like, the real tragedy of the Riley Gaines incident, which again has been reversed, is not that Riley Gaines had to like swim and produce the impossible, which is an absolute tie with this person who is, like 6'4".
Right.
The real tragedy is that the swim coach valued his or her career over Riley Gaines.
Right.
So every athletic director, assistant athletic director, coach, assistant coach that let Riley and every other woman walk out onto those blocks and compete against, Leah Thomas.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
But once you look at it from the standpoint of, hang on, if your life goal is to be a D1 swimming coach,
Yeah.
there aren't that many of those.
Right.
There are a lot of people that want those spots. Not many people get them. And when people do get them, they stay there for a long time. Those people protected their careers over the athletes.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, what you're saying, which is, look, this is professional sports for the people administering sports.
Right.
This is a business for them. It's not for the athletes. That comes into sharp relief. You're like, oh, what are we doing to our 20-year-olds?
Right. And that was 30 plus years ago. I mean, that's completely now changed, in today's standards with all the NIL and all that type of stuff. Because now coaches are just trying to keep an athlete for a year, if they can. So I'm like, what do we do to wine and dine you to come to our school right now? Just so if you do well, you're going to leave in a year anyways, because some other school is going to come in and snatch you up. So now it is a true business, whereas back in the day, it was a business. We just didn't see it until like, oh, we recruited you and now you're never going to play. Well, why am I even here? Like I could go do something else somewhere else, Right. So, and that was my thing, I'm like, if I'm not going to play, then I'm going to go somewhere else. So,
and that sentiment, if I'm not going to play, I'm going to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
seems really lame if you're an outside observer.
Right.
But if you're a 19-year-old who's like, listen,
Yeah.
I'm here because I love water polo.
Right.
I just want to play water polo. And they're like, well, you're not going to play. It's like, well, look, I'm here to play
Right.
water polo. It's
You
not like
recruited me.
This is an Olympic sport. Like it's like a gymnast. It's like, okay, you're here to do gym. We're never going to let you do your floor routine. It's like, dude, the only reason I came here is to do the floor routine. They're like, I know, but you're never going to do it. It's like, why am I here?
Yeah.
It's that kind of, you just lose that opportunity.
Yeah.
I got injured my sophomore year and so I redshirted, medical redshirt, and I had one more year of eligibility. I graduated, so I didn't take the year. But I've often thought, it's like, man, why didn't you take that one last year? And it's like in rowing, it's not like you're making money.
Sure.
It's not like you have any aspirations to make money. It's not like anybody's even paying attention.
Right.
It's the love of the endeavor.
Yes.
It's the love of the experience that keeps you waking up at 5 a.m. at 22 and hauling on that godforsaken ore. I actually broke my senior year. We had this set of my freshman year, Croker made this set of oars that had a pink, you don't know what a collar is, but it's essentially you have this long oar and then you have a little bit of hardware that makes sure it's the right distance out, right?
Yeah.
So there's a collar that's hot yellow and then, or excuse me, hot pink. And then they had like this yellow ring on it. And that produces, rowing is very technical from a leverage standpoint. So they're like, we want an oar that's 13 feet long, but has, like a certain distance out to the collar. So that's where the leverage point is. And so Croker made a pair of them and Cal bought them. Now the other ones are just black, right? It's like black collar, black oar, black ring or white ring, whatever. So the pink ones were like kind of unique. So my freshman year, I had number 8. It was an 8 set oar, eight oars in the set. And I had number 8 and you always went down and like, you got your oar and you like put it in your seat. I don't think anything of it after my freshman year. Freshman year was very rough. And my senior year, I broke my oar in half. Oh. I literally had this carbon fiber oar and I ripped on it and cracked. And so they rowed me back to the dock because I couldn't row anymore with like my oar. I have it in my house.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's that kind of thing where it's like, that's what athleticism means to people. Right. And so if you're like, look, if I'm not going to be able to row, if I'm not going to be able to play, if I'm not going to be able to do these things, that's true athlete. Right. Like that's true athleticism. That's outside of the business of adults who are trying to make money off their athletes.
Right. And those sports, like you said, you're not going to make any money off it, especially, it was 30 years ago. I'm not making any money off of water polo back then. It was just the love of the sport. And I can remember my baseball coach in high school just saying my junior year, hey man, you're good at baseball, but you're never going to be anything more than that. And I'm like, ooh, I thought I'd be that Major League Baseball player. Oh, that's right here.
Knife to the heart.
Right. Oh, I guess I really do suck,
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, and then, coming out here and I took 17 years off of playing and then, now I've been playing at least 2 to 3 times a week and then coaching and stuff, which has just been reinvigorating.
Baseball
again.
or water polo?
Water polo.
Oh, you said baseball.
Yeah, well, no, baseball was, I quit that a long
Knife
time
to the
ago.
heart.
Yes, that was
water polo.
The baseball is what I thought I'd be the Major League Baseball player, But I'm like, once he said, yeah, you're not so good. I'm like, oh, yeah, that hurts. He goes, go stick to water polo. You're better at that. So,
man, Nick from the team.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I obviously wasn't playing it. He was on the A team.
Yeah.
I was on the B team. Not very good. But talking with him afterwards, we got to go to dinner and he had this deep love for water polo. And he and I were hanging out in Berkeley at the same time.
Yeah.
I just never saw him. He was practicing with the Berkeley team and he practiced throughout Europe and all these different things. And he just had he wasn't even a Berkeley student, but he would come and play and he loved that sport and, committed his time to it. It's like, I feel like that's what we really need in America. Young people that are willing to hurt for something.
Right.
And I know that seems very dramatic, but like my boys got into water polo and swimming and we had them in basketball and we've had them play different things. Like they're not soccer people. They're like, this sucks. And I'm sure there are people out there that love soccer, not my boys. Yeah. But when you got them in the pool, there was something that happened that I was telling my wife, I was like, they're willing to hurt for this. Yeah. And you could see they'd go to swim practice for an hour. They'd like stop and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for like 10 minutes. Sorry if you have nut allergies. Yeah. And then they go into water polo practice for like an hour. And then they wanted to stay for more time. Sure. And it's like they're in the water for 3 hours and they're tired. Like you can see it on their, but they're going, they don't even notice it.
Yeah.
And it's that level of passion that I think is and commitment to something that brings out the best in people when they're willing to hurt for something. And, if that's sport and you learn how to do that through sport, that's great. If that's, biology, that's great. If it's nuclear welding, that's great.
Right.
But like, we need to cultivate that passion in our young people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what we're trying to get even our kids. It's like, hey, what are you passionate for? Like, what do you want to go do? Right. Do you want to go play a sport? Because if not, you're going to do something different. You're going to do something. You're just not going to sit because guess what? The moment you graduate, you go to college or whatever the heck it is that you choose to do, the world doesn't care. And so how are you going to learn these skills right now so you can take these skills that we're trying to teach you as a young teen, as an older teen, and then how are you going to, take that into real world and be like, oh, look at what they did teach me and the failures that I learned while I was at the house. I can now take that and learn, and I can build upon that, because, oh, mom and dad aren't home anymore, right? Oh, it's me. Did I learn when I failed, before? And if I didn't, well, then we're in trouble, and if I did, lean on that and move forward. So,
dude, your chair's going crazy.
It is. I hear that thing.
Listen, there's a little handle on your right arm. I want you to lean all the way forward and then push that handle towards the center. There you go. Now, there you go. Now you can lean back. It ain't going to squeak.
I'm like, man, that thing is talking.
But I had this concept when I was younger, even before I had kids, when I very much agree and appreciate the sentiment that you just brought, but it's so hard to watch your kids fail. It's so hard to let them get into a realm where they fail. And it's almost like, dude, you got to build that muscle. You got to, like, when you land flat on your face, you got to be able to get up out of the mud. Yeah. It was like that scene from The Matrix 3 when he guy's face down in the mud. Neo! Yeah. But like that for our teens. Yeah. And it's... I think it used to just happen because parents didn't have the bandwidth to deal with it, right? If you're talking about kids coming out of the greatest generation, their dad came back from World War II. The mom was like trying to get the house. It's like, get out by the time it's like the scenes from Sandlot, right? It's like by the time the, streetlights come on, you better be home. Okay, great. We didn't have time. Yeah. And whatever happened, the highs and the lows, the like heartbreak and the successes, the triumphs, whatever, right? It happens. And then you get into another generation where it's like we're kind of conscientious about, who our kids are and what our kids are doing. And, we have to invest in our kids. Well, what does investing in your kid mean? Does it mean they get always the best grades, right? And if they are getting the best grades, are they recovering from bad grades? Right. Are they taking that information? Like, it's all information, man. Yeah. And it's that kind of, look, did you let your kids fail? Did you look at, when I was going into junior year, I remember this distinctly. My mom and sister were giving me crap because I had tested into honors English and honors history. It was a combined class called American Studies. And they're like, listen, man, I don't think you should take this class because I don't think you're going to do very well in it. And I was like, what kind of pump up speech is that?
You're going to fail. Just opt out.
Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah. Like, I tested it. There's 60 kids who didn't get into this. I'm like part of the 25 that did, and you're telling me not to do it because I'm an idiot? Yeah. Right? Like, how do you mean? So, like, how did you navigate that with your teens?
I think just allowing them to fail and just showing them, pointing it out.
You're like, hey, by the way, you sucked at that.
Which it's funny because I'm like black and white with them. I'm like, hey, look this is what you did. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. But again, I always just go back to just what I learned, and back in our day when we went outside and we went outside to fail, we would go screw around. We would make stupid decisions, right? We'd go blow things up that we weren't supposed to as boys, and you get in trouble because of it. You're like, all right. So I learned my licks, you went and got in a fight and got beat up, I'm like, okay. So I learned, so I think in today's world where the phone is just instant gratification all the time, right? And it's like, how many likes do I have? How many people commented? How many of this? How many of this? And it's always that dopamine hit, So now they don't understand when something bad does happen, how to actually handle those reactions. It is like, hey, how did you fail? And what did you learn from it? And guess what? You still have work you need to do. Get it done, or here are consequences. Right. And if you don't do them, then I'm sorry, you don't get to have fun, right? And if you don't get to have fun, it's because you made this choice. Because guess what? In the real world, if you don't do it, they don't care either, and they then will take, your rent, or they're going to evict you, or they're going to take your car away, or they're going to do whatever. It's not going to be
a good result.
Right. Yeah. So these little things that we're trying to get our kids to understand, pick up your clothes, right? You don't pick up your clothes. Guess what? I take them, I'm like, and because you don't clean up after me. So why do I have to clean up after you? So if we're going to take them, then you can buy your clothes back, right? That's part of your allowance. Guess what? We have a bag of clothes. This is what you've got. Or guess what? If they're on the floor and we don't do it, we'll take them to Goodwill. Someone else can use the clothes that you left all over the floor.
Bro, how did you determine the cost per shirt and pants?
The first time we did
you bring out like a rolling coat rack?
No,
it is.
Here's our
selection.
We we had a garbage bag and we just started pulling out stuff. We're like, okay, pants, $2. Here it is right here. You want these or no? And they had to make a choice right there. Do I want this clothes or do I not? Whatever they didn't want went to Goodwill. Right. So the very first time we did it,
to do that.
They were like
that in my whole house.
Yeah. It was like $25 on one kid and like 40 on the other one. Right. And I'm like, and then we're like, thank you. We're going to dinner on this money, you know? So
did you send him a selfie from dinner? Please.
Yeah. It's like, it's like, hey, thank you, you know?
Bone and ribeye.
Yeah, right.
Love you.
But at that point, the very next week, right, one of them was $2, right? The next one is still in the 20s. So I'm like, all right. So now someone learned, and the other one is like, either I
50,
don't
50.
care,
Yeah.
right? Or it's like, you know, then you just have way too many clothes, right? So if that's the case, let's thin it anyways. So I think trying to teach them some of these things because they know, oh, where'd my clothes go? Where'd you leave them? Right? You know, and then it's like, now just hide them around the house somewhere. Yeah, go find them. I don't care. I know where my clothes are.
It's like
right.
Easter,
They're in my closet, right? You know,
Easter
you need to go figure out where your stuff is at. But it's like, hey, you don't pay for the rent here. We do, right? So why are we cleaning up after all of your stuff? Because you walk around the house like it's yours. Well, then do you clean up after us in our house? We know that answer. You know, so we're just trying to instill. It's like when you now go to college, guess what? You're going to have 9 other roommates. Right? Yeah. Are you going to clean up after yourself? Or what happens when your clothes start missing for good because people are now stealing your stuff?
Right.
Right? Because why? Oh, I left my jacket out. Oh, I left this out. I left this out. I left this out.
Or you left your laundry down at the washing machine for too long.
Right.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Like,
gone.
No one cares.
Right. And, you know, the answer right now is, oh, I'd never do that. Oh, but you wouldn't. Why you do it now? Right?
Yeah, right.
Because the behavior isn't going to change all of a sudden you hit college.
Right.
Right. That just doesn't change all of a sudden. So we're trying to change this behavior.
Right.
So when you do get there, guess what? You can keep your stuff.
Right.
Right. And it's just not gone.
Or you have a different principle of operation under different situation. It's like, hey, if you genuinely wouldn't do that with strangers, why are you doing it with us?
Right. Right.
Right. Like that's one of the greatest problems in family units, which is like, you never treat your friends this way. Why do you treat us this way?
Right.
And then like, well, because it's like, okay, here we go.
Because you're our parents. We can say this.
You're my sibling. You're my, you know, whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Dude. Speaking of kids blowing things up. So I go on a water tour. Actually, I see, dude, recharge sites. Okay, look, you're not a big water guy, but my point is that we have a great problem in the state of Idaho. We have a massive agriculture state, and we're also very much high desert. Okay, so we get between 8 and 12 inches of rain on an average year. You know, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And the whole name of the game is like, listen, man, store that stuff. Now, we're very lucky because our rain doesn't come in actual water. The majority of our rain or the majority of our precipitation comes in snowpack, right? So that means it's melting April, May, and June, and we need it in July, August, September, right? When it's dry and hot. So there's a big concept of like, how do we store this water when it's flowing through? So last year, 2024, we lost like 600,000 acre feet. So an acre foot is literally a football stadium and 600,000 of those feet, right? Like all the way up, right? It's like, it's a lot of water that flowed away. It's a lot of water.
Went somewhere.
It went somewhere. And so people are like, okay, how do we store this? Now, you can store above ground with like reservoirs and dams and things like that. Or I'm just saying, you can shove it into the giant water bottle underneath the ground called the Snake Plain Aquifer, right? Well, how do you get it under the ground? Well, that's a great question. Some of it happens naturally, but dude, they're making these recharge sites where it's literally 40 acres of gravel and it's right next to a canal and they'll flood the gravel and all of it will seep down. That's one. But they have injection wells. So an injection well, which is wild. It's literally like a jet engine. That's exactly what it sounds like. It's literally a well that goes straight down. You run a canal to it, and then all this water goes
pumps.
No, pump gravity fed. You want to know what the pressure is on dropping 200 feet with so they're pumping something like 10,000 gallons. I think it's per minute.
Jeez.
Into the ground, and it gets into the aquifer. And there are a lot of different things, but we also, so I saw the normal gravity recharge site, the injection well site, which literally was like, it was a wild sound. And then we went to the Teton Dam. Yeah. Okay. The Teton Dam was constructed, filled, and failed the first day it filled in 76. I spoke with Representative Gerald Raymond, who was living in the Teton Valley the day it failed.
Yeah.
Right. So he literally hears on the like noon news, they're like, hey, the dam's like failing. It's not good. He asked, I think he was like his grandfather or something. Grandfather's like, Valley's so big. Like by the time it gets to us, it's not going to matter. And then like by 3 and 4 o'clock, they're like, hey,
we got to go.
Get out. So he, and again, I think he's like 20 at the time. So he runs out, opens up all the gates for his animals because he's like, look, I can't save you, save yourself.
Yeah.
Opens up all the gates, goes into his house, takes all his guns and puts them on a mattress. And he's like, I'm putting these here, whatever. He rows on a boat back to his house the next day. Okay. And he said the only thing left of his house was his guns because the mattress floated to the top, got pinned against the roof and then floated back down and his guns were still there.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, like I'm looking at this thing where, I'm with a bunch of people for, very specific water reasons. And somebody walks in, he's like, hey, you see that thing over there? I was like, yeah, that concrete thing? He's like, yeah, man, when I was in high school. So he starts telling me that when they were in high school, this was, 20, 30 years after the dam burst. Yeah. And so all of the machinery and facilities that were supposed to be underwater were now, above water because, the dam.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, bro, we would go in there and just like, you get flashlights, you crawl up in there and you see all this incredible stuff, all this engineering, and you like go up and he's like, and then you'd actually come out way up there. I was like, are you he was like, yeah. And then people found out we were doing it. So they welded a door shut. They welded it like it was like this big tube. They're like they welded the door, and it got blown off.
Oh, geez.
They found it a half mile or like a quarter mile down because like the teenagers are like, not today, Santa.
We're getting in.
So they dropped in like dynamite and blew it off. He's like, then they sealed it with concrete, and the like people wanted like bored the core drilled through it.
They wanted it
because you get a bunch of like. Teenagers that are industrious and have farming equipment, they're like, oh, I'll core drill that. Problem.
We're getting in there.
What a bunch of bad, I don't know where that ranks as far as bad decisions, but blowing like a steel door off of a dam, like overflow, quarter mile down the river, that's got to rank up there.
Sounds fun.
God bless it. Listen, man, we got to get home for dinner. You got to go. I got to go. The Treasure Valley Water Polo.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed this. Give some people some information about it.
I think the website is just Treasure Valley Water Polo. I know there's an Instagram, as well. We try and keep up with it as much as possible.
Right.
Jeremy's the one that runs that. So actually he and I were chatting a bunch about that on the way home. Just how do we keep that active, especially with, so many people that are now coming into the area or kids even wanting to try it. I mean, because, I treat a lot of high school kids. I'm like, hey, it's a winter sport. Come on in. You want to stay in shape? It's a great way for you to stay in shape. Right. Just come in. We don't care if you know how to swim or not. We'll teach you. Right. That's the easy part. Come out, throw a ball around, have fun. It's 2.5 months from November-ish to February. And that's the season. So other than that, it's like if there's people that are out there playing, hit us up on the Facebook page. And, Megan is the, I think she's the curator of the Facebook page. So you'll go to her, so, but outside of that, we have a good group of people that know how to play, and we play, 2 to 3 times a week, depending on what the schedule is.
And for people that are interested in engaging with you in sports, sports therapy and sports health, because again, I've done it. My wife has done it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the service you offer. How can people connect with you?
My website, same Premier Spine and Sport. I have Instagram, same thing with the office at Premier Spine and Sport. And then just my personal one, just Dr. Justin Brink.
Dr. Justin Brink. Yeah. There we go. God bless it, sir. Yeah. Well, listen, hopefully we make it out tomorrow. You're going tomorrow, right? I'm going tomorrow.
As long as there's people. If there's no one shows up, then it's not fun.
God, man.
It'll be fun to see you in your weight belt.
Oh, my God. Listen, I know how to get better at things. I know how to get better at things.
And
it's doing hard things that no one else wants to do. That's my MO, baby.
Yes.
Anyway, thanks for coming in. Let's do it again.
Thank you. For sure.